Now, the only other Rooster Teeth show I've ever watched is Monty Ohm's Ruby. I really like the show, and I'm planning on giving its own review once it ends. Though at the moment, my big problem with that show is that every season feels incomplete. When I got to the end of the current volume, I couldn't believe that was over. The story felt like it was just getting started, only to end right there and then. Now, the same is true with this show, but it does have an additional problem, and said problem is pacing, and oh boy does it suck at it. The show felt way too fast, and it has to do with the amount of episodes. I don't think 8 episodes was enough for the show, mainly because there are certain plot points that felt like they needed proper time to be fleshed out. Now, the only other problem is pulling a J.K. Rowling, and what I mean is adding unnecessary additions to a character without fleshing them out. It's mainly this chick, but then again, her stuff was mentioned and dropped almost immediately, so what the fuck was even the point? The only other thing I was disappointed with is the lack of a Megazord mode. I don't know, it's just my love of Power Rangers and Super Sentai talking, but I was really disappointed that all the mechs featured in the show didn't come together. But either way, this show has a lot of potential in it, though at the moment it really isn't good. Why? Well, this is my review of Genlock. In the future year of 2068, we see our main character named Chase introducing his girlfriend Miranda to his mother. Now everything goes fine, though they have to leave in the, well, loosest sense of the terms. I say this only because they weren't really there in the first place, because they were projecting themselves from their base thanks to hologram technology. These two are part of the army called the Vanguard, and when they're back in their bodies, an alarm goes off, and this is not a drill, because forces known as the Union are attacking New York. Now, the Vanguard forces are deployed with Chase in a jet and Miranda in a mini-mech, though things aren't going that well. The Union can hack into remote-controlled mechs that the Vanguard have on standby, and they can also deploy this weird nanotechnology that can pretty much end the life of anyone who breathes it in. Though to add more fuel to the fire, a giant spider mech emerges, though it can't even be scratched thanks to the nanotech it deploys. After some casualties, Chase is able to deploy something known as an ESD to destroy the mech, though not without taking his own life. A couple years after the fact, we follow Miranda as she escorts a mad scientist named Dr. Weller and Yasmin to her briefing room. They're just in the background as the commander lays out the mission to escort civilians to safety. Though during the mission things go south real fast and it seems like everyone's gonna die. Until a blue and yellow mech jumps out of nowhere to assist in the evac mission. Thanks to the mechs, everything went according to plan, well, except for that jet exploding. Though she's caught off guard by a transmission from someone who sounds a lot like Chase. When everyone gets back, Miranda and her team demands answers. Turns out Chase is still alive, though he's standing in the briefing room via a hologram because his physical body, well, is just a head, torso, and an arm. He was clinging to life after a suicide mission and was saved by Weller. Now, the only reason why Chase is still alive is because he's compatible with a program called Genlock. The same also applies to Yasmin, and they were the mechs. Let me explain. The Genlock program is pretty much taking a human mind and putting it into a mech. Not through surgery, but through digitizing the brain. Pretty much, think of getting virtualized into Lyoko, or booting up Sword Art Online, though only without the virtual world. Since Chase was pretty much on death's door, Dr. Weller's team saved him just in the nick of time. After further explanation of Genlock, this time in private, we cut to the next day where new recruits for the Genlock program arrives to the Vanguard base. They are Kemi McLeod, Ida Kazu,
Miss Valentina,
and Specialist Sinclair. They're sent to get prepped for the program almost immediately after landing, though one of them is a double agent. Yasmin thinks it's her because, well, she was a part of the Union, But in actuality, it's Sinclair, and he deploys a nanotech. He gets to the main area of the Genlock program and demands to be digitized into a mech. Weller says fuck it and lets Sinclair take the mech, though I'll let you see how well that goes. Yeah, there's a reason why you have to be compatible with the program, and said reason is death. The recruits are understandably freaked out about said death, though Cammy is one up for tribute, and yeah, everything goes fine. There are some regrowing pains because walking around as a mech is a little different than walking around as a human. Though after the recruits get used to the mechs called Holons, they start training. And well, it's a nice little montage, and they're told a couple of things about the mechs. First up is the fact that you can grow out of the program, something about the brain not being able to go back to the body that easily after being genlocked. They can also overclock their emotions and delete memories for some fucking reason that will always baffle me. Though they have a time limit to be locked into mechs, though that can actually deplete the limit. They can also share mind, which will also make their limit run out faster. Oh, and they also have roller skates, so we can make Shadow the Hedgehog only much lighter. Now after a while they get their first mission and it goes somewhat successfully, except for the head on Cammy's Holon getting ripped off. I did say lighter than Shadow the Hedgehog, right? Yeah, an enemy mech shows up and kicks Cammy's ass, though is forced to run away when the others shows up. Though before the enemy mech runs off, it was actively searching for something on the Holon. But I should really stop right there, mainly because I'm describing the halfway point of the show, and that's only episode 4. Yeah, I wasn't kidding that this show is only 8 episodes long. There is going to be a character section in this review because literally every character has no character and can be summed up as so. Yeah, that's really it to them. I mean, they do have personalities, and that's why I call Cammy best girl, though there's no real character development. Shit, story-wise, we don't even have an explanation on the Union. As far as we know, they're just a random bunch of jackasses that have sympathizers. Now, I will say again that the show suffers from the amount of episodes, because Genlock seems like it would benefit from having at least 16 episodes. That's the same amount of episodes that Ruby's first season had, and although some of those episodes were about 4 to 5 minutes, they were able to get us accustomed to the world of Ruby. This show seems like it wants to do some character development and flesh out the story, but it really does nothing. And at the moment, it's like Power Rangers Megaforce. Not for how much it fucks up an anniversary, but just because it fucks up the story. Though that may be harsh because Genlock is pretty decent, while Megaforce just fucking sucked. I hate that this video may be a little short, but I can't really do anything with the characters, so let's just get on to this segment. Plain and simple, the animation is good, but damn this frame rate. This is definitely underneath 24 frames because it looks choppy in places. Thankfully, it's still somewhat smooth, and during the action scenes, you can't really see the choppiness. Though I feel like the show would have been better as a 2D anime and not a 3D anime. The Holons look awesome, though the character models are just ugly. I looked up concept art for the show and it looks pretty good, but when set in 3D, I just don't like these models. The voice acting is really good, and this is thanks to the actors having major experience behind them. For instance, well, this actor is David Tennant, who starred in Doctor Who. I personally don't like Doctor Who, but I may like the incarnation he plays because Weller is a very well acted character. Though for Ida, I don't think I can take the character seriously anymore because his voice actor, Yamadera Koichi, voiced Dwight Goodman in the Japanese dub of Dodgeball, a true underdog story. Don't get me wrong, Koichi-san is a great actor, though the only thing that will come to mind about Ida, well, is stuff like this.
Boy, is my mouth watering. You're gonna want to put a big dollop of that tangy red dead center on the dough, then use the cheese to shove it to the edge.
Oh, yeah. Sure, I think you should take a look at... Whoa! No! What?
The music is really good, with my favorite track being the main theme to the show, Belgrade, performed by the band Battle Tapes. You know, can we have some normal sounding band names? Well, either way, it took a while to get used to, but this song really fits with the show and it's just awesome. Now, I haven't watched all of what Rooster Teeth has to offer, but for opening themes, Ruby has set my standard for the company. and Belgrade definitely stands tall with those openings. And the other battle tape songs used in the show are also great and deserve a listen. So now, taking account of story, characters, animation, and sound, Genlock, at least for now, receives a 3 out of 10. And again, the show seems like it wants to flesh out the story and characters, but really it does nothing with them. We get no real motivations for anyone except for Dr. Weller, but that's really on why he created the Holons. Each character can be summed up as I said in the mini montage, and that's a disappointment. There are also some awkward moments in the script, specifically with Miranda moving on, but not really, and again, I think this has to do with the limited amount of episodes given. If it had more episodes, I think it would have fared better in the development department, though as is, the story is really lacking. Nothing really gets time to be fleshed out, and I really wish we got to know more about this world, because the future that Genlock shows is kind of interesting. Though to be a dead horse, it's not fleshed out, so we have no clue why the Union does the shit that it does, why Yaz was a part of the Union but then joined the Genlock program, or what even happened to Nemesis. The animation is a little choppy, though during action scenes it's not really noticeable, though the show should have been 2D instead of 3D, mainly because these characters do not work in 3D. The Holons in both their original and updated designs are the only models that look good in the show. For all of the human characters, I think it's mainly the faces that don't work in 3D. I say this because the designs of the fully armored Union soldiers are pretty well designed. Voice acting is really good, especially since the actors have major experience with them, and the music is really top notch. The tracks from battle tapes really complements the show, and are just great pieces of music. At this point in time, Genlock is available through legal streaming on Rooster Teeth's website, Crunchyroll, and Verve. Though for all 3 sites, the first episode is available for free, while the other episodes requires a membership for the respective sites. The first episode is also available on Rooster Teeth's YouTube channel, so get your feet wet with that episode before paying for any of the other services. For alternate recommendations, I present to you Power Rangers Wild Force, Power Rangers RPM, Voltron, Legendary Defender, and Neon Genesis, Evangelion. In Wild Force, we follow the band of misfits as they defend the Earth from creatures known as Orgs with the help of the Wild Zords. Acting is mixed, and you'll hate the character Animus a lot, but this has and always will be my favorite Power Rangers season, and I highly recommend it. Power Rangers RPM is the last season in the Disney era, and the team of Rangers we follow are defending the Dome City of Corinth from the computer virus known as Vengex. In Voltron, Legendary Defender, we follow the Paladins of Voltron as they defend the galaxy from the Golar forces using a mech called Voltron, made out of 5 lying mechs. Now, Neon Genesis Evangelion really doesn't need a big explanation, but for the 5 of you who do not know, Evangelion is set in a post-apocalyptic Earth, not in the Mad Max variety, only because civilization is still abundant and a lot of major cities are still up, though humanity is under attack by creatures known as angels. A military organization called Nerve recruits kids to combat this force, only for the series to end with animation brought to you by Crayola. If you thought Genlock was just alright, then you should check these series out.